Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the National Annual Meeting here in Orlando, Florida. We're in the final hours of the exhibitor hall. And before we called it quits, I wanted to introduce you folks to a couple of people here. They're with a company called Off Grid. It's really interesting. You might be able to see this structure behind us. I don't know if you can see what it is, but we're here to talk about poop and pee, guys. Thor, maybe introduce yourself to the folks watching at home. Tell us a
Great.
little bit about yourself and Off Grid.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Thor Retzlaff. I'm an Eagle Scout from Troop 267 in Truckee, California. And I'm going to tell you about off-grid toilet solutions and why managing our pee and poo is so important to making sure we can be sustainable with the environment. I'm going to pass it off to Benson here for an introduction.
Hi, I'm Benson, an Eagle Scout of Troop 131 in Rentham, Massachusetts, and I'm an engineer at Off-Grid. I'd like to show you the toilet we have here.
Let's take a look real quick, guys. So we were talking earlier, scouting happens in the outdoors.
Of course.
And guess what we all have to do in the outdoors every once in a while? And here comes Off-Grid Solution. Benson, you're an engineer.
I am.
So you've been with Off-Grid for a little under a year, brought in for your engineering prowess. Maybe just explain to us what we're looking at here, and Gina's going to take the camera inside.
Of course,
and you can give us a little demonstration.
So this toilet's a good alternative to pit latrines in any instance where you are off septic. So this is a urine diverting dry toilet. You go to the bathroom as you usually would, and pee runs down the front into its own drain field, and the poop is flushed back behind this wall by this clever pedal conveyor mechanism, out of sight, out of mind. So you're not sitting over a pile of anything. And this significantly reduces the smell of the toilet because the solids stay dry, and that smell comes from the urine or from the mixing of those two. And it reduces the volume of waste to eventually manage because the volume of urine is piped away and out of sight. That's back to Thor, I suppose.
Yeah, we saw Thor and Benson here, heard that they were both Eagle Scouts. You guys did not know each other until you started working together.
Right.
Now, when you hired Benson, did you know he was an Eagle Scout? Did it influence your decision to hire him at all?
I found out after we hired him, but it's one of those things where we had a deeper bond when we realized we were both Eagle Scouts, because it's one of those things where growing up in the Scouts, wanting to go and recreate in the outdoors, building that confidence, that skill set is so fundamental to being able to understand someone and how you can move through the world together. And so since then, we've really bonded around it, and that's why we're here together today.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, we were talking earlier, Thor, and you told me about a little bit of that, how scouting got you outside, got you comfortable in the outdoors. You've been to some pretty interesting places, including maybe one of the most iconic outdoor locations in the world. Tell us about that real quick.
Yeah. Actually, that's the reason why we founded Wasted Off-Grid, is because of the human waste management on the side of Mount Everest. So back in 2018, when my co-founders and I took a trip there, we came face to face with a really big human waste problem. And it was at that moment we decided to address that problem and start to do something about it. And so since then, what we've done is we've developed a company, a system around how we can more effectively manage pee and poo in sensitive, remote environments. And so the reason why we're here today is because scout camps are the perfect build for sustainable sanitation, right? Where you don't have access to water, you don't have access to sewers. This system is the ideal solution. And as Benson said, the way it works is informed by how nature processes our waste. Because in nature, nothing's actually wasted. And so when you use this system, your pee acts as a natural fertilizer into the earth, and your poop is already 80% water, so it dehydrates and then just breaks back down into organic matter. And when you do something like that, you're not going to have to pull waste out of this for 2 to 3 decades. That's why we're here talking to these wonderful council commissioners, meeting people and sharing more about what Off-Grid is and what we're doing.
That's very, very cool. And I'm going to ask Benson in a second a little bit more about the engineering aspects of it and how it works, stuff like that. But let's go back to Everest real quick, Thor, because I want to get into that a little bit more. I've never been there. It might surprise you. Most of our viewers have probably never been there. But you were at the base camp. And when you say there's a human waste problem there, describe that. I mean, I think a lot of people don't realize that there are thousands. How many people were there when you were there? Hundreds?
Thousands
probably.
Right. I mean,
and they all have to go to the bathroom somewhere.
Correct. Right.
And it's a problem. Tell us about what you saw and what you learned.
Right. And so when we look at, well, what do you need to have traditional septic management? You need fresh water and a sewer. You don't have that at 17,000 feet on the side of Mount Everest. And so what happens is that people are separating their waste and dropping it into pits, these big open pits. And so that's not sustainable, because once that pit's full, they have to build another one over here, and you're going to run out of land to fill up these pits. Inquire about is like, well, how do you manage so many people going to this iconic mountain's waste And that's where we landed on urine diversion. That's where we landed on if you separate 1 and 2, you can more effectively reintroduce these nutrients back into the earth.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I think we've all been in latrines or outhouses that, let's just say, were not great.
Not fun.
Not fun at all. Benson, maybe you could tell us a little bit about this device here and sort of what makes it better than most likely, the outhouses that we've all been to before.
So it really is the separation that makes things so much easier, because the smell, again, it comes from pee or from the mixing of those two. The urine has a lot of nitrogen in it, that becomes ammonia, which just stinks. So when that's piped away, there's a lot less smell. We have a one-way valve in there, so the urine stays away and the smell doesn't come back. And the solids, like Thor said, just break down on their own. They're dry, so there's a lot less odor there. And there's no need for bulking agent, unlike in maybe a composting toilet or a pit latrine, you had wood chips. There's no need to add anything, so there's, again, a lot less volume to deal with. We estimate the solids break down to about 5% their initial volume, just between dehydration and decomposition. So there's very little to dispose of eventually, like Thor said, every 2 to 3 decades rather than every year.
That's what I was going to ask you next, like 2 to 3 decades. Basically, very low maintenance. Obviously, somebody would need to keep it relatively clean, I guess.
Yeah, as you would any
a normal toilet, sure. But as far as doing the real, literal dirty work, every few decades or so. That's remarkable.
You let nature do the dirty work.
Right,
and that's really what is informed by this. Is if we could better work with nature to manage our waste isn't actually waste, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. And that's why we've packaged this into a system that you can install in remote areas, in the side of mountains, and scout camps.
It's interesting. And I also want to point out real quick from an engineering standpoint, there's only one place to deposit waste in there. You don't have to. It splits up number 1 and number 2, but it does it interestingly. There's not, because I think we've all been in those latrines where you've had to go number 1 in one place and number 2 in a second place.
Yeah, in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, there's dry toilets, but you're not allowed to pee in them. You have to go off somewhere else to pee. But this takes care of that for you. It does the separation. So
that seems like a game changer. I mean, that seems significant to me.
In the toilet business, it's user experience or user behavior that's tough to change. We don't want to change the way anyone goes to the bathroom.
Exactly. Yeah, so that goes totally against everything we've done since we were potty trained, right?
No, 100%. And that's the biggest thing, especially being in the space for over 5, 6, 7 years now. If you tell someone to change how they go to the bathroom, they won't listen. Hard stop, right? And what's great about this toilet is you can sit down and do as you've always done. Just go to the bathroom, and this toilet takes care of the rest.
That kind of thing for a lot of folks, I think that's a deal breaker for scout camps. Definitely. Maybe for parents who aren't used to going to camp, and we try to tell them how fun it is. Oh, but by the way, you've got to pee in one place, and I'm out. Right. I mean, I think for a lot of folks, that's it, right? They're done. So what a huge innovation that is for folks to be able to say, hey, come to our scout camp perhaps, or wherever. I know it's not just scout camps, right? But wherever, and you don't have to worry about that kind of thing. Not only that, it doesn't stink, which also seems kind of significant.
It is significant.
I do find it interesting that you were inspired to do this on Mount Everest, where you saw a lot of folks gathered in a kind of a natural area where there's no plumbing, no water, right? And that's similar to a lot of scout camps, where, especially in some remote areas, where the fun of scout camp, the fun of being outdoors is that you're away from all that. The disadvantage of being outdoors is that you're away from all that. So what an interesting idea. Tell me a little bit about off-grid and your plans going forward. What are your goals? What do you hope to do going forward?
Well, we believe in providing dignified sanitation experiences, because to your point, when you're outdoors, you want to fully immerse yourself in being outdoors. And so with these off-grid systems, we've essentially packaged it into a prefab solution that we can ship directly to you. You can set that up in a day or two, and then now you have an entire fully functioning sanitation system, right? When you do that, you now no longer actually have to worry about the toilet experience. You don't have to worry about these intense maintenance, monitoring, operational pieces. And so once you get this in the ground, you can worry about having fun, about learning in the outdoors and participating in nature. And that's really what it all comes back to. That's why we're doing what we're doing.
That's awesome. A couple of Eagle Scouts who have, as young adults, making a difference. I appreciate you guys. You took down the sign earlier, but there was a sold sign up here earlier. That seems
we did sell it.
Yeah, that seems. Tell me about that. I mean, so where is this going to go?
So this is going to go about an hour from here. It's one of those things where people all of a sudden are seeing the technology, seeing the solution, and immediately being like, "Oh, this is turnkey. This is something we could put in tomorrow and solve this restroom sanitation inquiry that we don't know how to solve. And so it's very affirming for us to be here. This is our first trade show ever.
Awesome.
I think it's been a great turnout, and people ask good questions. And what I love about being in the sanitation space is that anyone who's ever been alive can relate to what we're doing, right? And so we're, one of our visions is to change the way we think about waste, and that's also why we're here.
And it's great because, you and I talked about this earlier, Thor, this issue, it's in the Scout handbook. There are rules about where you can go to the bathroom or you can't go to the bathroom. And we even talk about it with my son's Cub Scout pack when we go camping, and it gets giggles and stuff like that. But, it's funny, and we can laugh about it. We can joke about it. But human waste can be pollution.
Oh, yeah.
If it's not managed properly.
Right.
It's, maybe, I don't know, like leaving trash on the ground. It's kind of not that different. Am I right about that? Do you agree?
In a thoughtful way to make sure that people that come after us can recreate in a safe manner.
And people might think, well, animals are out there pooping and peeing, but it's different when you've got hundreds.
A lot of animals on top of each other.
Exactly. Right? It's different when you've got that many people. A scout camp probably isn't quite like the base camp of Everest.
That's right.
But it is similar. I mean, there's hundreds of people gathered there over a period of 2 or 3 months, coming in, coming out. They all have to go to the bathroom. So, it's really great to have a solution like this. Thor, where can people go to get more information? You want to plug a website or anything?
Yeah. Our website is wasted.earth/off-grid.
I love that. .earth.
.earth.
I love it. I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Anything else you want to say about waste before we let you guys go today?
Yeah, that's from Mark Benson.
Well, I'd like to say we're also into urine as a fertilizer. That's another part of our mission.
For sure.
So again, we're called Wasted because we don't want anything to be wasted. So we recycle urine for its phosphorus value and its nitrogen. And I just think it's really important that, again, nothing is wasted.
When you were in engineering school, did you think that this is what you would be doing? Was that your goal?
It was. I fell in love with engineering for the Haber-Bosch process, which is a way of making nitrogen fertilizer. It allows billions of people to be alive today, but it comes with some problems and it's not sustainable. So this is a small part of a solution, I think.
So I think you were saying earlier that the grass grows greener around this because of so human waste. When managed properly, when managed improperly, it's pollution, it's trash. When managed properly, it's beneficial. That's probably an important
high potential nutrients. That's right. Yeah, so you install these toilets, you're going to see a blooming of vegetation purely because we're returning these nutrients back to the earth.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. It's really nice to meet with you guys. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thanks especially for being at the National Annual Meeting.
You bet.
We do this annually, so we hope to see you guys at future meetings. It's really nice talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching at home. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Take care.